Hey, here we go. Nets and Bets kickoff inside the PNC studio. Travis Thomas along with the legend, Claudia Bellofatto. Claude, I want to get into the 4 o'clock slate with you, and then we'll be back tonight at 7, of course, to break down Sunday Night Football. But I mean this as disrespectfully as possible. There's really only one really good game in the 4 o'clock slate, even though we'll break them all down. So let's run through the other ones quickly, give out our bets, and then talk Chiefs Chargers in depth. You cool with that?
Sounds like a good plan to me.
Again, just to reiterate, I mean that as disrespectfully as possible.
Disrespect.
Cardinals, Seahawks. Seahawks favored by 9. Claudia, I am a Seahawks backer, as you know. Pick them to win the West. Don't think they will, but I have a ticket still on them. I think they're a playoff team. I don't know if they're 9 points better than anyone in the league, Claudia. Total in that game, 44.5. How do you see it? The Cardinals stink, but I don't know if I can lay 9 with the Seahawks. Can I?
I'm with you. I think the parity is so real. We said it last season. It's even more real this season. We've seen with some of the best teams not being able to cover these big spreads. It's open Seattle 7, like you said, up to 9, seeing some 9.5s out there. And when it gets to a point where you're getting over a touchdown with a team that is not great, but has played pretty competitive week to week,
Yep.
I'm probably leaning to take the points. I would say it's a prop game for me. BetMGM sent out an email talking about the most bet players, and this was interesting. The most bet on player at BetMGM for today, Cardinals running back Deontay Ingram, under 35.5 rushing yards. For some reason, they saw a ton of money on this. So I'm like, okay, this is interesting because we never talk about this guy. I like the under. I have to follow the crowd here. It's running back by committee situation over there. He's cashed this number just once when he had 40 last week. 13, 6, and -4 the weeks before that. So, Trav, I'm going to follow the crowd with this one. Go under on running back Deontay Ingram for the Cardinals.
Yeah, I mean, listen, the only running back I'm interested in that game, as you know, Claudia, big fan, Kenneth Walker III. I would take over really on everything involved here. 71.5 rushing yards, I'd go over. 13.5 receiving yards for Kenneth Walker III, I'd go over. I just think, and you know this, and this is why I can't lay all the points with the Seahawks, how they win in this league, and they do a good job of it. Young defense. Geno Smith, we know, is much better in Seattle than he ever was in New York or anywhere else for that matter. He can manage the games to a certain extent. And then they run the ball. And Kenneth Walker's their guy. I think that's how they'll beat the Cardinals. The Cardinals, if anything, maybe I would be willing to take the Cardinals +9 because I just think Seattle will wear them down in this game. That's probably the only prop bet I would do in this one. Even Kenneth Walker's anytime touchdowns too juicy for me, Claudia, at -180, -175. I don't want to get involved. So I go over on rushing yards and receiving yards for him.
The only reason I'm hesitant to take the points is because of this Cardinals defense. It is so bad. And when I was looking at props, that's what I tried to hone in on. DVOA is a really interesting defensive stat because it basically is the average. So it kind of takes out who they have faced and breaks it down basically on an average field. How good is this defense? They have the second worst defense in DVOA against the number 1 wide receiver. So from there, I'm like, okay, how can we handicap that for the Seattle squad? Well, it's an issue because the Seahawks have spread out the ball between Lockett, Metcalf, and JSN. But Lockett, Metcalf, both banged up. We just learned that Metcalf is inactive. So I look at JSN over 3.5 catches +120. I think there's really good value there. Again, probably taking the points is the better move, but I would just fade this defense and go with JSN over catches. You could look at tight end Noah Fant for the Seahawks over 19.5 receiving yards. You have to take advantage of looking at this injury report and heading into a game that might be gross, but because a lot of people aren't betting on the game, you can find a better edge in the market.
Definitely gross. We've met the quota for talking about this game. I'm over it. Let's go Steelers.
Probably too long. Yeah.
Steelers, Rams. Rams favored by 3 here. Total at 44. I mean, what's your play here? You've kind of been on the Rams all season, huh?
Yeah, Rams my survivor pick, and I didn't really want to do that because this Steelers team, despite having a decent amount of talent and the defensive edge in this matchup, the Rams offense is just incomparable right now. The way they've been covering, third best ATS record. And yes, Steelers coming off of a bye, but the Rams face the Cardinals, who we just talked about. We've seen the Steelers blown up by the Texans and Niners, so I'm not too worried about the rest advantage. I took the Rams. I don't love laying the 3.5, just
Yeah.
because, again, of the parity, but I think it's one of the safer plays. I probably look to props in this game, which we can talk about, but we are seeing some 3.5s out there for the Rams as well. So, of course, always, as always, because that hook can matter, shop around and lay the 3.
Hey, you know what? We can talk about props because this was a stay-away game for me. I lean laying the 3, but I didn't do it because of the Steelers coming off the bye. But as long as Stafford's healthy and Kupp's healthy, I don't really have a problem for anyone that wants to lay the points with the Rams. I do want to get into props, and I want to ask you this. What's a better bet? George Pickens over 49.5 receiving yards, or your boy, Puka Nacua, 61.5 receiving yards for him? Who would you go over there?
So I lean Nakua for sure. I think we knew that Cooper Kupp coming back into the situation was just naturally going to take away some of the targets because you have target share with one of the best receivers in the game. So I lean Nakua here, but I would actually look to Cooper Kupp because this number's at 90.5 receiving, which is a lot, especially when you are competing for targets with Nakua. But we saw 12 targets in week 1 for Kupp, 118 yards, 148 yards in week 2 on 7 catches. He's just as explosive as he's always been. And we know what that connection's like between him and Stafford. So I lean Nakua, but I feel a little more comfortable going over on Kupp. I know we've only seen 2 weeks, but Trav, I think we have a big enough sample size overall to know what Kupp's capable of.
No question about it. Okay, now I'm ready to talk a real game here. Chiefs, Chargers. Listen to this. Chiefs favored by 5.5. Listen to this total, 47.5. Claudia, I like the Chargers to cover the number, and I like the over in the game. And one of the reasons why I like the Chargers to cover it is because I think we're going to have a track meet here. I think this will be a high-scoring game, which means the Chargers should be trading shots with the Chiefs here if I'm going to cash that over. I like the Chargers to cover the 5.5. What say you?
Yeah, you talk about this being as low as 47.5. Keep in mind, this opened 52. And Trav, you and I talked about this earlier this week. There's certain spots where you do want to pay attention where the sharp money's coming in, but also take advantage. Just because the market's moving a certain way doesn't mean that that is the right play. So I'd go over that 47.5. Chargers have scored 24 or more points in 4 or 5 weeks, top 5 pace. Chiefs averaging over 24 a game. I mean, that number's too low when we're looking at what these two offenses are capable of, and that's what they lean on. It's their offense. It's not the defense on either squad. So I'm definitely over on this game. But interestingly enough, the most tickets as well as money have gone to the under at BetMGM. Of every game on the slate, the most under money is in this game.
Well, I mean, unders have been cashing so much in the NFL. I can't blame people for betting that. I just think for once we'll get an over this week. I have a pair of best bets for you, okay? What's a better bet?
Okay.
Justin Herbert over 266.5 passing yards, or Patrick Mahomes over 278.5 passing yards. We both think this will be a high-scoring game. Which quarterback has the advantage here in the prop market?
I'm going to go over attempts with Herbert. I don't mind the yards either. And like you said, it's going to be a track meet. I always like to look to the opposing quarterback when you're facing a team in the Chiefs, because that quarterback's going to have to keep up with Patrick Mahomes. And a lot of the times you're seeing the Chiefs lay the point. So game script says the opposing quarterback's going to have to throw the ball if they're playing from behind. And that's what we're seeing in this spot with Kansas City. So Justin Herbert, 37.5 pass attempts, 24.5 completions. I lean over on the attempts. He's cashed it twice, missed by the hook last week, but consistency again over the years has always been there. Don't mind those completions either, though. 25, we're talking Justin Herbert here. Come on.
I'll tell you on that one. Last one for this game. Better bet. Keenan Allen, 79.5 receiving yards, or Travis Swift. Oh, I'm sorry, Travis Kelce, 72.5.
Well, is she going? Is she going to the game? Because that's that's part of the handicap.
I'm so over it, Claude.
Now that Kelsey's finally healthy and he's right back into the rhythm, we're seeing the targets increase, production overall. So I'd have to go Kelsey.
All right, fair enough. Last one. Let's go next game. Packers, Broncos. Packers favored by 1 here. Game's in Denver. I mean, look, totals 45. I don't think I'm messing around with points here. I'd rather just go money line, right? I mean, Green Bay on the money line, minus 120 If you like the Broncos, they're even money. I'll take a shot with Green Bay here, Claudia, and I said this on our show earlier this week, that I think Jordan Love just needs to be consistently average. Don't give me Jekyll and Hyde, bro. Just be average. I think that roster is good enough to win games if he just gives you that. I'll go Packers here. The Broncos are cooked.
Sure. I definitely lean Packers here. I don't know how anybody can trust the Broncos. I understand that they kept the Chiefs to just 19 points. We just talked about the offensive firepower with them, but I'm not bought in. I don't care. I need to see more. I wish that it was the other way so I could put Green Bay in a teaser just to give myself a little wiggle room. You could do that with the Broncos, get them up to 7, something to consider if you don't want to play this line straight up, -1. I'm going to stay away from sides. I am staying away from the total. But one prop that I really like, and I tweeted this out earlier because it is too low. A.J. Dillon, over 9.5 rush attempts. All he needs is 10 or more. Now, yes, Aaron Jones, questionable with a hammy. He is expected to play, but it doesn't matter. Dillon should get these attempts anyways. He's cashed this in all but 1 week. He had 20 carries in the last game, averaging almost 13 a game. Broncos' second worst DVOA against the run, allowing the second most rush attempts. Even if Jones does go, he's not 100%. 10 or more for A.J. Dillon, definitely favorite play in the game.
I'll tell you with that one. That's a wrap for us here on Ness and Bet's Kickoff. But we'll be back at 7 to preview tonight's game. Claudia's Dolphins against the Eagles, who she was on last season. I don't know which way she's going to go, so tune in to check it out. I have a ton of bets for that game. We'll see you at 7. For Travis Thomas and Claudia Bellofatto, peace.